Welcome to API-bench, everyone. Today we are going to have a quick look at two examples of using API-bench so that you can get an impression of what it actually is. So, before I get into more, let's first run the first example. We're here looking at JSON-placeholder.typecode.com, that's the test API. We have a couple of routes defined, that is our test cases. We'll go into them in a second, but first I'll just run the example. So what you can see is it's npm, it runs a process, and you get a result, which is a lot of numbers. Just for the record, the numbers are formatted in German, so for everyone who's from an English-speaking country, replace dots with commas and commas with dots, and you have the same result. So we just measured 6 requests, and we have an average response time, obviously, for all of them. We have a median, a minimum, maximum, and we also have those values for the 80% range, which in this case is identical because we are cutting out the extremes. So if you have one run that is way longer than everything else, this will take care of that, so you don't have to suffer from weird results that are unexplainable. Numbers are in nanoseconds by default. And yeah, I think standard deviation is the most interesting part here, which shows you how stable a response time is. So for example, the delete here is very stable, while the create is very unstable in comparison. Let's have a quick look inside. So create does nothing more than send a post request with test example and 1232 to a post endpoint and checks for status code 200 in the end. It has auto handle JSON, meaning it will convert the body object to JSON, answers the JSON content header automatically, and it has an ID of create post, which is what we see here in the result. The same is true for delete post. In this case, delete post 1. It's just a delete call to post 1, and it also checks status to XX. I'm not going to go through all of them because they are pretty much identical, and you can see all of them in our repository. But since most of you might be interested in more results, we also have CSV, of course, which also includes error messages if there are any. We obviously have an HTML output, which is relatively unstyled, but at least gives you the chance of easily sending it via mail. And there's also a JSON output in case you want to process the information further somewhere else. Additionally, which is not included in this example, you could just dump the result into a MySQL or MariaDB database. There is a storage available for that you could just plug in and play. So, since we have nothing special to show here, let's jump to the second one, regress.in. Also a test API, but this one has something different than before. This one actually has a login. The data here is public knowledge, just for the record. So we are logging in. We are checking that the status code is 2XX again. And we are setting an access token so we can reuse that in, for example, create user here as access token. I'm going to run that in a second, so you will see that login will not be shown as a result because it's just a pre. If you actually want to test your login performance, you would need to put it into main as well. Same procedure as before. And here again, we do have some standard deviation, but in comparison to the other one, it's lower, at least right now. So that was a quick view of what API-bench is. So let's quickly talk about what it's useful for. So number one, obviously, this way you can benchmark an API. You can automate it. You can get your results sent by mail, for example. But you could also go ahead and, for example, load test the same API with the same route definitions. Because you can disable middlewares you don't need by configuration file. And there's a load test executable included. But let's get to more about that next time. And thanks for listening. Hope you have a great day.